So if there's going to be any discussion of any action taken, I would like to be recognized for the first motion
Okay.
on this issue.
This
Well,
is a touch, just
I
a
don't think
minute,
that's
just a
appropriate for my item.
minute, just a minute,
Or that you take no motion.
just a minute. This is on the agenda as a discussion item,
Thank you.
okay? I would assume a discussion item, I am not quite sure about the discussion, it's a discussion. We're
It's-
going to discuss it,
Correct. It's a discussion about,
not stop, we will end the meeting next.
Go ahead, we can move on.
And let me
One.
tell you,
Pass it,
we
I don't-
have your other agenda item on, and if this is going to be a issue that I cannot control the committee, we will recess and we will take these two items at another meeting. So let me hear and let's see how it's going to come along, and then we will move forward. Let's try to be
thank you.
respectful to each other, and let's hear how it develops. I will recognize you, I always do.
I'm asking for the first motion on this item before he makes
What do
any
you mean?
motions.
I've never given first motion to anybody, Jonah.
Well, I'm asking for it out of
There
deference.
might not
because
be a motion.
well, you just,
What?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay. I don't know if,
Well, okay. Is there a second to that motion? The motion,
Okay.
for lack of a second.
I arrive at, first of all, Commissioner Libben, I want to thank you for bringing this item to the attention of the Commission. But I arrive at the same conclusion you do, but for a very different reason. And, there's a lot of speculation about a lot of things that go on in the city. But let me tell you one thing. Mr. Manager, do you have the authority to waive a condition of an RFP imposed by this Commission?
I do not.
Mr. City Attorney, was the waiver of the condition that was given to ImPark without this Commission's approval lawful under the City Code?
It was not.
Now, when someone gets caught violating the City Code, you can't just say, oh, I'll fix the problem now, because then there is no deterrence. I don't care who it is. I don't care where the chips fall where they may. If there are other contracts in the city where the administration, without the knowledge of this Commission, waive conditions of a request for production, bring them up and vote them down. There has to be some authority. You want to know what the authority comes from, Commissioner Libben, to bring this up? It's a violation of the city charter for what occurred in this instance to occur. For an administrative employee, without the knowledge of the city manager, to waive a condition of an RFP imposed by this Commission, not me, the predecessor Commission, during the negotiations, and not bring it to the attention of the commissioners, and not bring it back to the commissioners for their knowledge. I have told this to every lobbyist who has contacted me when I told them that I wouldn't talk to them about it.
But can I ask?
Let me finish.
Well, let me ask you.
Requirement imposed by this Commission is that, oh, the prior vendor did it. Well, I will renew what I just said. I call for an investigation of every single contract, because if our staff is negotiating away conditions that we put into RFP during the process and as cost-saving mechanisms, of course someone's going to come in and bid, and then in the negotiation process say, well, if you don't ask me to do A, B, and C, then I won't charge you as much as I bid on the original contract. That's how they get it down from $840 to $150 and look like they did a good job. Giving away the conditions that we put into the... I didn't put them in. You did. If you didn't think CPR was important, you were here, Commissioner Gross, when that RFP was approved. I wasn't. Then why'd you put it in the first place? Why did you tell everybody else to factor the cost of the CPR into their bid, and then in the negotiation stage eliminate it? No one has answered my question. If there is not a sanction for doing this in the negotiation process, then are we just going to say, oh, when you catch us, oh, gotcha, now that we didn't hold standard accountable to the CPR? Why did that happen?
That's it. That's my
Was that politics back then, too? Politics has to stop in this city, folks. It has to occur at the election box, not in the back rooms of City Hall. And it doesn't mean, I'm tired of hearing I can count to 4, with all due respect. I don't want the city staff to get the message that if they can count to 4 and Joe had the 4 and now Sam has the 4, that affects how they administer a contract. I want them to know that if they do something that is in violation of an ordinance, a regulation, or a condition imposed by this commission, that there will be a serious consequence for that occurring.
And I agree that to the extent that see, I don't know as many of the facts apparently as you might as far as exactly how.
Follow up to Jose.
Jerry and then.
You know, I'm going to clarify, the answer you just gave is that based on what the rationale is for termination, I suppose? We have a convenience in all of our contract, a clause to cancel for convenience.
Right.
If you cancel for convenience, there is no proof of anything. You have the ability to cancel convenience. If I personally feel that the number of, Victor's issue was a separate issue that he took to a different level. When I see this many violations of city policy in a very short period of time, to me, that's a lack of management and a lack of training. But if we were to decide that we wanted to relet the contract for convenience, is there any test that we have to pass?
Well, have to come out, but let's put the facts on the table. You said that you relied on a letter that was given to you by the city saying that a contractual condition negotiated and imposed by this commission was waived.
Okay.
That you relied on that. Is it not true? I am told, or I was told, that your client, Mr. Escobar, requested city staff to waive the requirement. Is that a true statement, to the best of your knowledge? Just yes or no?
No, it's not. We did not request the CPR to be taken out.
Mr. Manager, did you not just tell me 2 minutes ago that the request for the waiver of the condition in the contract was made by Mr. Escobar?
That's what was replayed to me, so why don't we ask the person who received the request?
During the negotiations, we were requested to waive the requirement of the CPR.
During the negotiations of what?
Of the contract. And subsequently to that, as a follow-up, a request for the letter to waive the request, to waive the CPR was requested by...
So during the negotiations, they requested you to waive the condition, and then after the negotiations, you waived it at their request?
Correct.
Because I think it's important to add it to the record, and also because Mr. Bierman, with all due respect, we've had conversations and we're peers, but it's not just incumbent upon staff to review that a contract accurately represents the agreement of the parties. It's also incumbent on the vendor, and our process is usually when the contracts are executed, they're first sent to the vendor for review and execution prior to the city signing off on it. So with regard to this particular contract, often in RFPs, we're given the authority to negotiate and the manager is given the authority to execute the contract. But the commission was very specific that it wanted this contract to come back to the commission. And I think that one of the reasons was there were a lot of conditions attached to the motion. One of them, as you remember, being yours, Mayor, of how we were going to treat the migration of the employees. So if this had arisen in between the award of the RFP and the contract coming back to the commission, yes, we would have made the administration aware of it, and it would have been, the commission would have been aware of it. The issue arose after the contract was executed.
And would it have been legal to remove?
Ridiculous. Shame on everybody here for that. Shame on the 5 who voted to cancel this contract. You have somebody who didn't get the contract.
Wait a second, Jonah.
No, you heard me.
You did not vote to cancel the contract.
You absolutely did. You're putting it out for bid again.
Donna! Okay, the meeting is adjourned for tonight. That's it. We don't take the other item.
I'll be back.